All right, welcome to the second episode of the Hat and Bats podcast with Matt and Kevin. We made it. We made it to a second episode.
Dude, we're on fire right now. It's like that scene from Major League 2. We did one, we do another one, we put one more together. That's a winning streak right there. It has happened before.
I love it. I was looking at our views. I think we're like up into the 30s now.
No way.
I know.
The 30s of what?
30 views, over 30 views.
Okay. I thought there was like a list. We were top 30 already. I'm like, wow, that'd be me. Wouldn't that be something?
I'm quitting my job tomorrow.
Well, listen, we had a very good first episode, so I'm setting the bar high. But 30 views, I'll take 30 views for now. Let's see if we can double that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that optimism. So I figured with this being our second podcast,
yeah,
why don't we play a little game to start it off?
Okay.
Things that only happened once in Major League Baseball. So we, having two episodes, we've actually occurred more often than these events in Major League Baseball. So I figured I would quiz you starting off very easy.
All right.
You tell me, let's see if you can get the answer to these. You ready?
I'm incredibly nervous about this because I'm trying to rack my brain right now. I'm like, what possible questions could you ask me of things that only have happened once in Major League Baseball history? It sounds like a hard topic, but you keep saying it's easy, but I'm not trusting you yet. Go ahead.
I'm telling you right now, this is like a softball. This is like slow pitch softball. Don't overthink it.
All right.
Keep the bat level. Ready?
Okay.
Okay, here's the first one. So again, these are things that only happened once in Major League Baseball. Okay, again, this is our second episode. So we've outlasted these things. All right, first one. No pressure here.
All right.
There's only been one Mets starting pitcher that has thrown a no-hitter.
Oh, okay.
Who is that Mets pitcher that has thrown one no-hitter?
Who put his entire career on the line to be this one Mets pitcher to throw the no-hitter? That would be Johan Santana. It was a great game. It was a great night. It was just, I remember having that feeling after the game, like, can his shoulder still do that? Because for the last few years he's been banged up, and what did we just do here?
It was actually happened on my birthday. So we went out to a bar down in, I think it was in Troy or Albany.
Mm-hmm.
I might be a little bit inebriated. And I remember sitting with Matt Florell.
Nice.
We look up at the bar and we're like, oh my God, I think somebody just threw a new hitter. So we went to the bar and was like, are you kidding me right now?
That's awesome.
Just missed this. So yeah, so that was always something that was forever ingrained. June 1st, Johan.
That's awesome.
All right, so I told you the first one.
First one softball. I like it. Okay.
Okay. Again, not difficult. This is not difficult at all. If I'm giving this to my kids as a quiz, this is guaranteed 100.
Oh, boy.
In MLB history, there has been one player who has hit 2 grand slams in the same inning. Who would that one player be?
Oh, my God. It's Fernando Tatis Sr.
There we go.
Fernando Tatis Sr. Absolutely.
Now, let me put a little spin on it for a little extra credit.
Okay.
Remember what year this happened?
Is this 98? Very
close. 99.
99. Oh, okay. I knew it was right around McGuire race record stuff. So yeah. So and was he on? He wasn't on the Cardinals anymore. Was he on? No. He was on the Cardinals still.
On the Cardinals. Yeah.
Oh, he was still on the Cardinals. Okay. Wow. Very nice. Okay.
I told you these are nothing to worry about.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable now.
A little bit more difficult, but again, I have faith in you here.
All right.
So one time in Major League Baseball history, there has been back-to-back no-hitters. Who is it, and what team did he play for?
Joey Vandermeer. Joey Vandermeer. Is it Cincinnati Reds?
Correct.
Cincinnati Reds. And one of those games, I believe, was the first night game in history. Was in the 1930s. I'm going to say 1936, 7, 38.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding.
There we go.
That's very good.
There we go. All right. Yeah. Joey Vandermeer. Absolutely, sir. Yes.
I told you good. Okay, we got one more. Again,
one more. All right. Oh, this is awesome.
I don't know if this one is politically correct, but I'm just going to go for it anyway. I'm not going to get myself in trouble, though.
Well, we better be careful. It's only our second episode. It'd suck if we got canceled after this.
I can always edit this out if it's something.
All right. Let's give it a try.
There has been one pitcher in Major League Baseball history who has pitched with one hand. Who is that one pitcher?
Well, that wouldn't be politically incorrect.
I didn't know if it was
oh my God, yeah.
You're thinking what's he gonna say here?
All right, so that would be Jim Abbott.
That would be Jim Abbott.
Jim
Yes.
Abbott, absolutely, for the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
Was that 1993? I want to say too.
I did not put down the year for it, so let's do a quick.
You took a little Google search. Well, so is that all my questions? I got them all right.
You got them all right.
All right, awesome, cool.
I used to emulate him all the time. It was September 4th, 1993. God, I actually remember that. We were like 8 years
1993. Yeah, we were young. I remember him being on an episode of Boy Meets World.
Really?
Seeing him on there again. It's so funny because that was like my point of reference. I'm like, okay, it was the early years. I think it was before he confessed his love for Topanga. So I'm going like early 90s. I'm going 93. Because I know it was also before the Yankees run in 94 when they lost to Griffey. Not 94 because that was the strike shortened season, but also before 95 when Mattingly made his last run with the Yankees. And they lost to Griffey and the Manners. I liked them. Those are good questions. I feel good. I feel real good now.
I told you, start us off on a positive.
All right, yes. Good. Awesome. You know what else makes me feel good, Matt? I know this makes you feel good too, buddy. We got some new hats.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, new hats came in this week. So it was funny. I had no intention of buying a new hat. None whatsoever.
Nothing.
I'm good.
No yeah.
I've been my wife has had this talk with me now a few times already these past couple months. Stop buying stuff. You're good. I'm like, I know. I'm fine. So my card buying has stopped. Somewhat. So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, I really don't need a hat. The Mets City Connect hats haven't come out yet. I was planning on that being my next purchase. But then my mother reminded me that we made a bet at Super Bowl. And I don't know if you know this about Mama Clow, but Mama Clow's become obsessed with football. Like, obsessed.
My mom too.
I mean, she is so borderline miserable that no football is on anymore. And it's already March. I'm like, Ma, it's been a month now. Like, we got to move on. It's okay. She's like, no. There's just nothing on to watch. There's just nothing on to watch. She actually started watching women's college basketball. She called me up yesterday, and she's like, are you watching this Big Ten title game? I'm like, no.
She's a Caitlin Clark fan?
Yeah, she loves it. She loves watching Caitlin Clark. I mean, in my feminist defense, I was watching LSU Kentucky softball and not watching that. But we made a bet at the Super Bowl, long story short. She wanted the Niners to win. I'm like, I don't think the Niners are going to win, Ma. And I had no rooting interest. I'm like, fine, I'll take the Chiefs. No big deal. And she goes, okay, if the Chiefs win, I'll buy you a hat. I'm like, okay, this is perfect. I'm like, you're buying the hat. I'm not spending any money, so I'm going bold. I'm going daring. And I'm going something that's just going to drive Catherine, my wife, nuts. And I got this little bad boy right here.
Ooh.
This is the Buffalo Bisons. This is one of their alternates. Yes, you see it right, folks. That is a chicken wing with a piece of celery, and the baseball is actually a dollop of blue cheese. I absolutely love this hat. I love the orange. It's bold. I love the white paneling in the front here. It's a little boxy. Thank you, Fanatics. But I'll tell you, it works. It's just a goofy hat to throw on. Again, there's some of the orange in it being backwards I actually kind of like as well.
Yeah, I like it.
So
can you bring the logo closer to the
Yeah, absolutely. I can. Drink that in. Absolutely. Look at that guy.
So is that one of the like the one-offs that the
yes.
minor league baseball?
Well, like one of their theme nights, absolutely. Again, kind of like how I brought up last week how the Hudson Valley Renegades do the cider donuts, something like that. Yeah,
I love that. I can't compete with that. I can't compete with a buffalo wing on a hat.
So what'd you end up getting?
So when I originally, I'm a sucker for anything that's new. So when you were saying you were waiting for the Met City Connect, anything that's like a spin-off or a one-time thing, that's my jam. As you can tell from behind, I like all the weird eclectic type of hats. So I initially bought the Marlins spring training hat, which was white with the teal pinstripe. Love that color scheme. I just love that it was outlandish and just different. Except it was I bought a low profile, and with me growing my hair out, did not fit properly. So I had to bring it back. When I shipped it back, they were sold out. So I'm like, so what do I do here? So frantically started looking at the Phillies. Have you seen the Phillies batting practice hats with the Fanatic on it? The blue and the red lid?
Yes.
Oh my God. Love that. Again, sold out. So I don't know if this is what's the deal with these, but all of these are being sold out. So the batting practice ones and the spring training ones are pretty much like sold out across the board.
Wow.
Anything that's an original design. So then I'm like, okay, I just bought a pair of shoes that are teal, purple, and black. So I'm like, with that color scheme, where do I want to go?
Yeah, seriously.
So I saw a Diamondbacks spring training game where they had on the teal,
Hmm.
solid teal with the snake head. And
Yeah.
I am a sucker for that color. Again, when we went from our podcast last week, like that teal from the Marlins, like I just love it. It's so
Hmm.
incredibly underused color palette that that not many teams use it. But the all teal was sold out. So again, I'm like, what do I do? So I ended up looking around, seeing the batting practice one for the Diamondbacks. So what I ended up getting, again, not as loud as a buffalo wing on a hat, but I got the
Look at that.
Diamondbacks batting practice,
I like it.
no patch. And the thing is, and
Yep.
I feel really bad saying this, but I had to go up a size, so now I'm officially a big melon guy. I'm a 7.5 in there. But I
Wow.
love the batting practice hats are completely different than they were like maybe like 2 years ago. Incredibly light, incredibly
Okay.
airy, and they fit like perfectly. I'm like, this is something I can put on and wear all the time. It's not that like what the current hats are. Even with this being like an extremely big hat, like 7.5 is big. The crown is not outlandish by any means. For this being, I'm gonna guess it's probably made in Bangladesh.
Hmm.
Quick check. I can't read Spanish. Laos. For being in Laos.
Oh,
Okay,
it's in Laos.
so this one is not bad quality at all. I haven't bent the brim yet because I have to make sure I do it with like a steamer and everything. But the
Hmm.
construction of it does not feel bad at all. But again, like this is like a $50 hat. So I'm like, for this price, it should be. But again, I just like love the color. The
Yeah.
snake head, like that to me is like that's exactly what you want for a batting
It's
practice hat. Like I love
it's
it. Like the seams on the
it's
baseball
funny.
itself.
It's funny you say that. Before I get to my next one here, I'm looking at the batting practice hats right now, and there are a few on there I really like. Actually, the the Mets one with the script, I actually really like that with the writing.
Okay, you know the seven line.
Yeah.
See, to me, that looks so much like the seven line, and I don't like the seven line stuff as much. I just didn't like. I know it's like an homage to like the '80s Mets.
It does a little bit, but I don't know. It's different. At least it's
Yeah,
different.
it's
I
different.
kind of like the gray. I do like the gray a little bit, and I think blue and gray always look good together.
Absolutely.
So
I don't like the one
I
with the
do like
racing
that.
stripe.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, the one I really like is the Manners one.
Yes, I like
That's
that
what that
color.
again, kind of the teal for the brim, the white panel, and I love the old school S. Like the old school S is really grown on me.
Yeah,
I really do like that one. The Angels one's fine. It's
yeah.
classic. I'm just
It's
going through some
boring.
other.
It's boring.
Yeah, but I like that logo though. Again, I like that logo. I like when they do the navy, the dark navy blue with the red tassels. I like that.
Go move on. Go move on era with like the A with the
You
wings
could.
coming off. Oh my god! Like
You
I could
could. You
go
definitely.
on.
I think that color scheme is a little bit better too. And
The
I'll tell you another one I really
Pirates.
like too. I actually came close to buying this, and I did stop myself, but I shouldn't have because I just learned my daughter is going to be a St. Louis Cardinals in Little League. I like the Cardinals batting practice one
Is that the
with
one with the
the.
solo cardinal on it?
No, it's the STL, but it's a navy hat with the red STL and a red brim.
And see,
I like that one. I like that one a lot.
when I saw these get released, I looked at the Rockies with the
Mm-hmm.
purple actual cap and the pinstripe. To me, that just screamed you with you saying that you love purple.
Yeah,
Um, like the Yankees one, okay. Tampa Bay, like for a lot of these, I know you want to be like fun with these. Tampa Bay needs to go to that
Tampa Bay.
gradient again.
Yeah, I agree.
Like just
The
like
old logo never worked for Tampa, so just move on from it.
I agree. In the
Just move on
Pittsburgh with
for
the
it.
stars on it, I love that as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yep.
So I've had my eye peeled. I look for the Fanatic one on eBay, and they're going for
Mm-hmm.
like over $100. And I'm like,
Really?
I can't justify that. That
Yeah,
to me
no,
is like
no.
is too much. But
Especially for a rival. I have a hard time. And again, I like the Phillies logos. I like the Philly color schemes. I'll tell you, like Phillies jerseys look really cool. Even the old school '80s ones always look great with the maroon. But I can't. I just can't. I just can't do it. I remember when I went to Philly with Mike, and we were taking in a Phillies Marlins game, and we wanted to Uber back to the hotel, but there were still COVID restrictions. And I forgot my mask. So we had walked there originally in 95-degree heat. after eating a steak sandwich and a cannoli. I almost died. And I'm like, Mike, I'm not doing it again. We're taking an Uber back. And I had to go in the Phillies gift shop and get a stupid Philadelphia Phillies mask. Even that was hard enough to do. I think Mike filmed the whole thing so he could rub it in my face. But I got one more for you. So my mom came down. My mom came down this weekend. Yep. My mom came down this weekend. She gave me this bad boy. And then she wanted to go to the Commons. Yeah, we'll go to the Commons. So my mother and my wife go off shopping. I take Charlotte with me. Go in the Nike store. Didn't really find much. Walked all the way over to Lids. It was closed because it's Lids and Mobility Commons. Random times, the signs up there, they're closed at 11:45 on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. Great time to be closed. So I'm like, all right, well, whatever. We'll just go back. We'll find your mom, and that'll be it. So we took the route past Nautica and past all the high expensive like stores like Gucci and whatnot.
The stuff you never go in.
I didn't notice that the Commons added right down from Nike a store called Laced Up. Have you heard of Laced Up?
Yep, one of my buddies owns something along those lines.
Really?
There's one in Crossgates, yeah.
So I remember seeing like clips like on like my Instagram and whatnot of like them selling hats at Laced Up. So I'm like, let me go try. Let me see what's in there. You go in there. If you've never been to a Laced Up store, it's overwhelming. The gorgeous sneakers they have in the store, and every single one's like covered in saran wrap. It looks like. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, why is this? And I found this beautiful orange and white pair. I'm like, God, if I could find sneakers to go with this hat, it would be perfect. And like they're $250. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's why they're covered up.
That's cheap. That's cheap.
Oh my, not for me, not for sneakers. Oh. No, I can't justify. I can't. And as nice as they were, I couldn't do it. But then I looked at the wall and I saw the hats. I'm like, oh. I'm like, what is that? And some of them had pins on them. I'm like, oh, these are capsule hats. I brought capsule hats up last episode. I am obsessed with capsule hats, and they sell them in the store. So I'm looking around, and it's coincidence, Matt. Nothing but sheer coincidence, because you didn't know I was doing this. That I got this bad boy.
You're kidding me.
Right here. Yep. I got that bad boy right there. The Arizona Diamondbacks, but in blue and yellow, with the 2001 World Series side patch. You have the multicolored New Era logo there on the side, and you have the baby blue UV. I love this hat. I'm not a Diamondbacks fan at all, but I love blue. I'm a big fan of blue and yellow, which is also the colors of my school. This hat just works incredibly well. Yeah, all capsule hats are. Now, for you, because you have a bigger head than me, I have a small hat. I'm a 7 1/8. The logo is a big part of that game. If you get a hat with a big logo on it, I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Where is it? There, down here.
Did it come in this fancy box?
This is a fancy box and everything. It was awesome. Yeah. This is another capsule hats right here. It's my Detroit Tigers one with the side patch there from the World Series. I think it was a 35 World Series. So I guess it's World Series on it. Nope, 1945. Yellow under brim. But the problem is the D is huge.
That's what she said.
And when you put it on, actually doesn't look that. What do you think? It looks that terrible? Or it looks boxy?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, yeah. So I'm telling you, these are a little bit more expensive hats. They're like $50.
Yeah.
But they fit incredibly well. They're incredibly well made. Big fan. If you're a hat guy and you have not seen capsule hats, you gotta check them out because they're money. They're awesome.
Where is that made?
Good question. Capsule hats are made in China.
Okay. So the thing is now, again, I'm not 100% on this, but one of the guys that my brother went to high school with, I know it's Laced Up. I don't know if he owns it or if he's like higher up, but I know like he promotes like a lot of the capsule hat stuff too. Yep. So when I was looking at it like over the summer when they were doing like drops, like it's become like no joke. Like I'm obviously like a big time sneaker guy, and how difficult it is sometimes to get sneakers because they sell out instantaneously.
Yep.
It happens a lot with those capsule hats. They have like certain themes that if you're not like having a bot, like you're not going to get it. And the resell on them is incredible.
It's huge.
It's like 200% at least on some of these.
Yep. Yep, they're awesome hats. They have amazing designs. They never get boring. Like I used to follow the guys. I still follow them. The guys on Lid's Hat Trap, Lid's HD, and they're great guys. I think Manlows, I think is one of his names. I think Lid's collections have gotten a little repetitive and boring. These are always fresh because they're not doing every team. A lot of these sets they come out with, it's just a few. Yeah. It's just a few teams that they're doing. So it's a little bit right. It's a little bit more rare because of that, but it's also fresher because of that as well, which I like.
And I'd be willing to pay the extra money for the quality.
Sure. Gotta try it out. Next time you come down, baby, we're gonna go laced up. Yeah, we're gonna go laced up.
Let's go.
All right. So this podcast, though, I mean, listen, Matt and I can talk about hats forever. And if you're still with us, you don't mind us talking about hats forever, or you skipped around a little bit. Actually, the majority of this episode, the purpose of this episode, is we're talking baseball predictions for the 2024 season. So we broke down our 4 parts, all related to what we think may happen this 2024 season. And our first segment 1, we call again, Beat It Out. We got to beat out that dribbler down the first base line. So we're going to start off big. We're going breakout players. All right, breakout players or breakout teams, however you want to interpret it. All right, so Matt, do you want to start us off actually? What was you, because I got mine here. I'm wondering.
I'll kick it off.
Yeah, what is your breakout team and or player?
Okay, so when I was doing my research for this, I went in a bunch of different directions. I was thinking initially, like the first person that came in my mind was C.J. Abrams on the Nationals, just because I think he is primed to explode. I think they're going to be a feisty team. And that was like my initial thoughts. So when I was looking up like stats on him, I'm like, obviously you like have the stolen base, but I'm like, I don't know if he's the step up from last year to what I think he's going to do this year. And looking at a lot of the projections was not anything where it was like, where did this guy come from? So again, I could be a prisoner in the moment for being a Mets fan. And the majority of my Twitter feed and my Instagram feed is information coming from the Mets. But I would say the guy that I'm looking forward to the most, and maybe it's because this position is near and dear to my heart. It was the one thing I was good at when I played. I couldn't hit, but the only thing I felt like I was really good at when I was playing still was catching. So for me, my breakout star this year will be Francisco Alvarez, and I'll tell you why. Now, first of all, from not even like a baseball standpoint, he is what I want in a baseball player. He's what I want from a human being. For being as young as he is, like when you look at him, you're like, okay, he's got like the flashiness to him. Like you're like, okay, he's like the modern generation of a baseball player. But again, this is something that I saw him working on at the end of last year, and Gelbs was talking to him a lot about this. His desire to learn English, to me, shows a lot about what he's like and what he wants and where he wants to become, where it's like, I'm in the biggest market in the world still, and I want to be able to communicate. That to me shows like incredible drive to be like, I'm a Major League Baseball player and I want to learn a new language so I can communicate better. Like that alone, fell in love with it. And hearing him do these interviews in English, like props to you, buddy. Like for somebody who teaches English, it's incredibly difficult. And here he is like trying to have these conversations, and you can just see like his character. And I think we talked about this last week with like Trey Turner and the Philly fans getting behind them. I can totally see Mets fans getting behind him because they see the effort, they see the character, the charisma behind him. I just think it's only going to take him to the next level. So great, like he learns English, whatever. Like, love it, everything about it. But two, there's a simple way that he receives the ball. Now, without going like too technical, when I was catching again, that was 20 years ago. The whole essence of framing was you're not trying to like jerk your glove, because if you jerk your glove, like the umpire is going to see that you're never going to buy it. You're never going to buy a strike, which is what you're trying to do. So it was always like subtle, like you would dip the glove in, dip the glove up, just to try and steal anything that you can possibly get. But the new phase with catching is this whole thing of always starting at the bottom of the zone or beneath the zone, and then when you're catching, everything is coming up. Watching him receive pitches, it's beautiful. It kind of reminds me of like Johnny Bench-esque with how soft his hands are. And I'm like, for me, watching him get the low target. Now, again, I was never somebody that put the right leg out, sat down on one leg, and squatted down, just because I could never have like a good throw down the second, or I felt like I couldn't block. But again, it's a new method of teaching. Watching his low target and just the way he receives in frames, like it's like a thing of beauty. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and be like, if I'm a pitcher, if I'm Luis Severino, like that's who I want to throw to. Now, again, like when I was looking at some of his pop times, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think he was like averaging like a 1.9 when you have like JT being like a 1.7. So it's not like it's slow, but the kid's got a cannon. And to me, it's always like you want your catcher, your number one, to be available for 120 games a year. You want him to be a solid glove behind the plate. You don't want him to be a butcher back there and to occasionally hold a base runner. And that's not even talking now about his offensive production. Like, would you be surprised at all if at the end of the year he has 28,
No,
30 home runs?
no, not at all. And
That
I'll
makes him
tell
a
you,
premium position.
yeah, and that's what I love about Francisco Alvarez, because his profile in the minors, and you can go back 2-3 years ago, the Mets had serious concerns if he could be a major league
Yep.
catcher,
Yep.
but he was still considered a top prospect because he's a masher. The ball explodes off his bat. I had a couple opportunities to watch him play in Single A when he was with Brooklyn, and he was just different at the plate. The ball sounded different off of his bat.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part I love about Francisco Alvarez the best, because he could have simply been like, you know what? Okay, I'm not a catcher. Not that a person wouldn't work at it, but he could have easily been like, okay, I'm just going to have it. My bat is going to lead to my success.
Yep.
So I'm going to focus mostly on my bat and to make sure I'm that bat in the lineup. So you have to put me in the lineup somewhere, almost like a Kyle Schwarber type player. That's what I'm going to amount to be. But Alvarez took a different path. Alvarez was like, no, I am a catcher, and I'm going to dedicate myself to this craft to at least be, probably in his mind, the best catcher he can be. But in my mind, what is now, he's not costing you runs behind the plate.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think he's adding something to it. I was blown away about how pitchers like Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander talked about him last year and how much they liked working with him. What crabby, approaching 40 veteran pitcher would want to work with a rookie catcher, especially on a team that had pennant aspirations like the Mets did at the beginning of last year? But they all embraced him because of this work ethic. You saw him the other day in the spring training game where he threw out 2 base runners and then he hits the 410-foot home run. Yeah. You know, if this is the guy he's going to be, now he may not be the next great fantasy catcher. I don't know if he's ever going to be the hitting caliber of a Mike Piazza or even a JT Realmuto. But at this point, I'm not betting against him at all. I thought he was going to fall into that category of maybe they'll throw him in the outfield, maybe they'll DH him. Perhaps that's his future. And now, as a Mets fan, he is my catcher for as long as he can catch. That's who that guy is in just 1 year time. I think the sky is the limit for him. I'm not placing any more limitations on the guy. I think it's a great person to pick. Not even from like, because you're not trying to say like Alvarez is going to be like an MVP candidate, correct?
God, no.
No. But a guy at the end of the season who will be maybe top 5 at the position, I think he can absolutely be that at the end of the year.
And you think about it too, the way he started last year with the pop right off the bat, then he went into a little bit of a swoon. But again, I'm not comparing me catching in high school and after high school to like what he does, but the amount of homework that a catcher has to do, because okay, you've got forget the batting. Like, you've got to know your pitcher's tendencies. You got to know the hitter's tendencies. There's so many things that you have to do where it's not, you can't put all the time in the cage. And to see him this year being a better version of himself. Again, it's spring training. But he's showing that growth of a young kid where you're like, that's a guy I'm building around. That's a guy that can be top 5.
His next big hurdle is going to be learning the strike zone. That's going to be it. If he can cut down on it. He cuts down on his strike zone. We can be fully content with him hitting between 220 and 250 with 25 plus homers and 80 plus RBIs and being one of the best catchers in the league. That's a guy to build around.
Let me give you his Fangraphs projections for this year. So for this year, through Fangraphs, projection 3.0 WAR. Sign me up for that for a second
year catcher. Absolutely.
230 average, and again, average is severely like overrated. 26 home runs, 315 on base, which again, if
Mm.
he comes with learning the strike zone, cut down the
Yep.
strikes out, get some more walks,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to increase. 436 slug. You give me that stat line right now,
Yep.
sign me up
I'll
for
take
that.
it.
Again,
I'll
he'll
take it.
be your 6, your 7 hitter. Absolutely, sign me up.
Well, I actually think by the end of the year, if he's not the Mets 5 hitter, I would be shocked.
Yep, I would
On that, that is the kind of protection Pete needs in the lineup. If the Mets are going to sign Alonso going forward, that's a guy to start with. He is an ideal 5 hitter to me. 6 would be great because if you sign an even better bat and you put him 5, you put Alvarez 6. Now we're talking about serious depth in that lineup, which is something sorely the Mets need.
Yeah, and the only issue is it's like, okay, with being the catcher, you're not playing every day. So
Yeah.
then you got Nito. And it was funny yesterday. I'm watching the game with my in-laws. Nito comes up. It's me. It's my father-in-law. It's my brother-in-law. And I'm like, Nito's swing to me is like so incredibly long. I'm like, cut
Yeah.
down the swing. I'm like, it was an 0-2 count. I'm like, here it is. He's gonna strike out. And my brother-in-law Nick is like, no, he's gonna hit a bomb. He's gonna put it like good swing on it, drive the ball. He hits an 0-2 fastball over the right field wall for a home run. I'm like, okay, but again, like this is spring training. Nito's not doing that during the year,
Right.
so you do lose some of that productivity when they're not playing every day.
You do.
I want him to play every day.
But going forward, and I know he had a little bit of a rough year his first year in the minors. I'm not completely out on Kevin Parada yet. Kevin Parada he mashed in college. People were raving about his bat. He's another one of those guys who can hit very well from the catcher position.
But is it
I'm very intrigued. He, to me, is the most intriguing player in the Met system right now because if he pops this year, like I believe he can, that's going to give the Mets great flexibility going forward. And talk about when you spell Alvarez, you put Parada back there. That's very interesting 2-3 years from now.
The only thing is, and I'll be short with this so we can get to your guys. My thing is, I feel like Parada's hype has decreased. Like I don't see him on top 10 list now. Again, Mets farm system is much better, and from everything that I've read and watched, it seems like he's a little bit of a butcher behind home plate. But again, like I don't know if he profiles more as like a DH rather than like a catcher. But again, which is catcher, I don't need like Todd Pratt.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like or like a Todd Hundley, something like that. Absolutely, exactly. Yeah, he absolutely did. I'm not gonna put my reputation on the line right now and say Parada's gonna hit 40 homers, but again, if the bat works, and that's what he's got to get back to doing again. If the bat works, it plays, and you're gonna find a spot for him. Can we survive with him starting right? 30 games at catcher and DHing some other times? Absolutely, I would gladly take that on my team.
Yeah.
So for let me do my team.
Yes, give it to me. All
right. So I didn't go team. I didn't go team. I went player, and I alluded to these guys a little bit last week, and that is the Kansas City Royals. I love the makeup of this team. I really think they have a chance of being a poor man's version of the Orioles last year. They just locked up Bobby Witt Jr. This is a guy who's figured out how to play. I think there's even more potential in that bat. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is an MVP caliber player. But to pair him up with the likes of a Nelson Melendez and a Vinny Pasquantino, but guys who had really good rookie years to start. This team has a nice young core, and they added in some really nice veteran players to go along with it. You look at the likes of Michael Wacha. You look at the likes of a Seth Lugo. Now, these are not guys who are going to headline a postseason team. But these are guys who give you innings. These are guys who can go deep into games. And these are guys who can win games for you. Again, no one's going to confuse them with the 95 Braves in that rotation. But they're guys who have pitched at high levels in big situations before. And to pair up Lugo, Michael Wacha with Brady Singer, who has added a sweeper this year to go along with the sinker. Credit to Rates and Barrels podcast for that one. I think he could be an even better pitcher this year. But the guy that I think puts the Royals over the top is Cole Ragans. Now, when you dig deep into Ragans a little bit, there are some alarming things. He's already 26 years old. He's already had a history of arm troubles before. But what we're seeing out of Cole Ragans right now, not only in the spring, but last year as well, we might be seeing the blossoming of a potential ace here. This is a guy who has scary stuff. And you can say that for any pitcher. Every pitcher has good stuff. This is next level. He threw a pitch this spring that was clocked at 101 miles per hour with 20-inch vert as a lefty. That's insane. That's unheard of. This is a guy, if he can just stay healthy and stay the course that he already set himself on at the second half, really the September month of last baseball season, this is a guy I think hitters are going to have a hard time figuring out still, especially in the first half of that division. Now, if you take this Royals team and you put them in the AL East, or you put them in the AL West, or the NL East, or the NL West, I'm not making this prediction. But the AL Central, I think, is the most winnable division in the entire league, bar none. You have so many teams in there in a state of flux. The Minnesota Twins were not spending a lot of money because they don't have much money to spend after this whole Bally TV deal. So they're hurting from that. The Cleveland Guardians,
never do.
No one knows the true direction of this organization. They were content with signing Jose Ramirez. But to use our Mets as another example, that feels even more like a David Wright signing. We're going to sign him for our fans so we can have someone for the fans to come to the ballpark and watch. But we're not building around them at all. They're not investing in this team. They're not interested in making this team any better, which is a shame because of all the pitching this team has had over the last 5 years and how great of a player Jose Ramirez is. So, and then you have the Detroit Tigers, which everyone else seems to be very, very bully on. Mm-hmm. But you look at the Tigers rotation, as great as Tariq Skubal is, there are a ton of question marks in that starting rotation. I mean, you're looking at guys like Jack Flaherty. Who is Jack Flaherty now? Yeah. Was he the guy that was struggling in St. Louis? You couldn't figure it out? Or is he now the guy who flourished a little bit in Baltimore, but only in a small sample size? You have Kenti Maeda, now on his fourth team in his mid-30s. You don't know what you're really getting out of him. But in the end, he's a career 4+ ERA guy. You have Matt Manning, who I liked Matt Manning a lot in the minors. I think he had some of the best stuff in the Tigers organization, but he has also struggled. You don't know if Casey Mize is even going to make this rotation. Mm-hmm. This is a team that has a lot of question marks, even more question marks to me in the bullpen. And a lot of young guys they're asking to do a lot of big things from. I like Riley Green. We don't know what we're going to get out of if Max Clark makes the team. You know, what he's going to be in his rookie year. Guys like Jace Jung, guys like Colt Keith, a lot of positive reviews, but we haven't seen anything really truly positive yet. The Royals have the same caliber players, and they've already posted some really good numbers so far in the big leagues. Winnable division, good young core, strong pitching. I think this is a team, and you get, I think, to win the Central, Matt, what would you say? 85 wins? 84 wins is all you need?
So I looked up what you were going on about your Royals, in which I wrote in our notes to each other. I just think your next hat needs to be a powder blue Kansas City Royals hat because
I had one at one point.
Absolute KC fan, which makes sense considering your initials. What do you think the Royals' odds are?
Nothing to do with it, though.
to make the playoffs, just to simply make the playoffs. What do you think their odds are?
Well, I placed a bet on them winning the division. It was like plus 1,000. This is like a month ago.
So not even division. If you're just going to say even a wild card, what do you think?
It's not much better. I think it's like plus 850.
Plus 425 to make the playoffs.
Okay, so it actually went down. Last time I checked, it went down.
So yeah. their over under for the year is 75, and I feel like you got to hammer that.
Yeah,
you've got to hammer that. If you're convincing me. Now let me ask you one more thing too, and this is. Again, I don't know where this came from, but I feel like it literally just came out of I never heard the pitch before. Where did the sweeper come from?
The sweeper is the combination slider curveball. It has a lot more velocity on than a normal curveball does, and it has more of like, so if you're a righty throwing the sweeper, it's like a 2.5, 3. It's more like 2 o'clock to like 8 o'clock pitch.
Are you spiking it? Or is it just like a traditional like getting
a lot of them? So most sweepers you can spike. The real good ones though, no, it's like a nice little trajectory like this. They're nasty. Someone just threw a ridiculous one the other day in spring training.
Was it Gilbert
It
from the
might
Mariners?
have been. I think he might be working on one. I know Griffin Jacks of the Twins has like a nasty one as well. I mean, if you think about Ottavino's breaking ball there, that's kind of like a sweeper.
But his is
You know,
like slow. It's like mid 80s.
yeah. So that's what they call like more of like a slurve, like
Okay.
more of like a slurve.
Because I
So a
always
sweeper, I believe, has a little bit more of a velocity to it.
because I feel like the pitches they always go through like this phase where it's like, okay, you went through the split finger phase, and then you went through like the circle change, and now
Yes.
it's like the sweeper. I'm like, where did this come from? Is it a softer slider? Like that's what I've always been like. Like, is it a
So
cutter? Like,
I could be incredibly wrong. I know pitchers over the last 5-10 years have been more of them have been adopting the cutter.
mm-hmm.
And the cutter out is more that lateral movement. So I think with the sweeper, it's kind of like the same family but a bigger drop. But
Okay,
obviously, right, a little bit slower in velocity, which is why Brady Singer, who's predominantly a sinker ball pitcher, him adopting that is pretty deadly because now you're getting pitches that go this way to righties and now go that way.
it's like Greg
So
Maddux. It
yeah,
reminds me of.
exactly. Exactly. It's about manipulating, your eye angles and whatnot. So yeah, it's a deadly pitch, but I have the same feeling too. I like the split finger like it was for us because I mean to me like Schilling and Clemens threw like the best split fingers growing up in the early 2000s, and a lot of pitchers tried to adopt that, but the problem with the splitter is you don't get that kind of movement and the torque on your elbow. And they were also talking about that with rates and barrels as well. It puts a lot of strain on the elbow,
Mm-hmm.
especially pitchers breaking balls that are of higher velocity.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's something you do have to be very careful of.
yeah, yep.
So
It just seems like it came out of nowhere, and I'm like,
yeah,
what is this? And then you see like if you're a righty throwing to a lefty, it's that dive at their back foot where it's like a
yeah,
swing and then they're collapsing down. I'm like,
yep.
where did
That's a
this
sweeper,
come
baby.
from? Yeah.
That's a sweeper. Let's round second, baby.
All right, let's go. Let's dig in. Ball in the
All right.
trap, heading to second. All right, so for our second segment, for rounding second, we're going to talk about even though season isn't officially underway yet, we're getting really close to the South Korean opener.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a trade deadline deal or prediction that you think could happen or something that you would like to see happen.
So I actually have three of them. I have one I think will happen,
I agree. Yep, I
one
agree.
that could happen, and one I would love to see happen.
Okay,
All
give me the
right.
one you think that's going to happen.
One I think will happen is I think the Cubs, especially with the signing of Bellinger, they bring him back, and I think the overall strength of the division. The Cubs are going to be in it. The Cubs are going to be in the NL Central race once again. You look at the overall depth of that team, the depth they have in the lineup, depth they have in the rotation, but they don't have that ace guy yet. And I think on the trade deadline this year, they're going to make a move for Shane Bieber.
Mm-hmm.
They
That makes
have
perfect
a
sense.
plethora of offensive prospects that Cleveland desperately needs because Cleveland needs to build an offense again there to surround Jose Ramirez, hopefully one day while he's still in his prime. So what I have here is Shane Bieber going to the Chicago Cubs for Kevin Alcantara, Jefferson Rojas, and a pitcher in Ben Brown, who is a tall, dominant right-handed pitcher. He might project more to be of a reliever, but at least with Alcantara and Jefferson Rojas, they got a couple bats coming their way.
I'm gonna hold on right there because I'm gonna piggyback right off you. Well, you
Go
can go
ahead.
to your other ones as well. My issue with Shane Bieber, velocity dip, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of a velocity dip. So every time I see that, scares me to death.
Sure.
But I think it's prime for Cleveland to move on, and it just
Yep.
it's part of their motive.
Yep.
I'm also with mine. I think the Cubs are going to be all in this year, and I'm also my prediction that I'm thinking kind of alluded to this a little bit on the last podcast, but I switched up the teams. I'm the firm believer that the Mets are not going to be that competitive, even though their starting rotation, their pitching in spring training has the best ERA currently. I just don't think it's going to hold up. And
Mm-hmm.
if they have any injuries at all to that starting rotation, even with Senga coming back, it's going to be tough. So again, I like always harping back at him just because he annoys me. I think Pete Alonso will be traded. Now, again, so I did this, and I was a little bit of a troll. So I went deep into the Cubs Twitter and started like poking this around, and I
Okay.
got torn apart. But I said Pete Alonso to the Chicago Cubs for Cade Horton, who's a double A right-handed pitcher. Now, when I started doing
one of their better prospects, that's for sure.
He's currently their number 2 prospect.
Number 2,
behind Crow Armstrong, who again I don't think is going to hit in the major leagues. He's going to be a phenomenal glove.
I tell you, I've heard a lot of people talking about how much his bat's progressed. That people really like him.
That swing, I feel like you elevate the ball on him. That swing, but that's a story for a different. I think so with Cade Horton, 94 to 96. So it's not that upper echelon velo that you see with some of these big time prospects. 7th overall pick, I think it was like 2022 or 2023. When I put that into like one of the Cubs, it was like a Barstool Cubs Twitter thing, and I was getting ripped apart. They're not doing their number 2 prospect for Pete on a rental. You're telling me the Cubs can't re-sign him? So I looked at the Cubs first baseman. So they have Michael Busch, the projected first baseman. I know nothing about Michael Busch.
Michael Busch is a guy, again, who's hit on every level of the minors, has struggled a little bit in the majors. I agree. It's a big year for Michael Busch. I think he's getting the starting nod. He is getting the starting nod. Yeah. In Chicago. If he doesn't hit, he's not going to play because there's a lot of guys in this system that could easily step in there. And I'm not a big Matt Mervis guy, but Matt Mervis gets hot again. They're not going to let that bat sit down there, especially he's already had major league experience. So, Busch has to be an impact immediately. Yep. Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's not crazy. The price tag does seem a little lofty. For Cade Horton.
Mets need pitching.
And I'm like, but Cade Horton, I believe, is also like the 3rd or 4th best pitching prospect in baseball right now. So it might be, but again, if Pete goes there, you sign him long term. This could be a little reminiscent of, I keep harping back to Mets stuff, but that's just what pops in my brain. Maybe like a Carlos Beltran for Zach Wheeler type deal. Yes. Yeah. Which is also very, very, if the Cubs are in it and they want to make a run, yes, I'm sorry. Teams can do this. They can be like, all right, I'm going to lose out on this guy, sure, but I'm solidifying my lineup because I'm making a run for this year. It's possible. It's definitely possible.
I know people hold on to prospects like it's like the best thing in the world. If I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I've got a chance to make it to the World Series. I'm this piece away. If I can plug in a 50 home run guy, okay, I'm going to have to give something up. They were players for Shohei. They've got the money. You're telling me they can't lock up Pete? So I just thought it helps the Mets because the Mets farm system is barren for starting pitching.
Yes.
You get that aspect, start resetting the clock. That was my idea. So the next thing that you think that could happen, give it to me.
All right, what could happen is I know the Phillies are going to be in it. They're going to be in it for the long run. I had them going all the way to the end. But I'd feel a hell of a lot better if they get solidified the back end of that bullpen. Yep. I had the Phillies trading for Devin Williams, for Justin Crawford, and Griff McGrary. Two Phillies prospects. They're both top 10 prospects in their systems. The Phillies are a little top heavy right now in their system. But Devin Williams, premier closer. It's just always something Philly fans have been having to worry about, that closer spot. You bring in Devin Williams, I think on a Brewers team, they're looking to rebuild. I like that a lot for the Phillies.
I can see either Devin Williams or Clase from the Guardians. Yes. That's a move that they.
Yep.
And that changeup that he throws, the Bugs Bunny, it's like
not
Santana
fair.
from the right.
It's
how
not
do you
fair.
hit that? How do you possibly hit that? There's
no
tell. It's same arm speed, same arm slot. It's just it's poetry.
Yep. I got one more. I got one more though. This is the one I would like to see happen. I haven't heard anything. I'm just going off of looking at all the teams, the directions they're going in. Okay. The Miami Marlins are not going anywhere. It looks like they're pretending they're building something. They got a ton of pitching in their system. They always seem to have it, but they don't have great positional prospects. And Luis Ariz is an older player. Not that he's old, but he's older. He's not 22, 23, 24. He's not a guy they're really, I think, going to build around because that's not what the Marlins do. So why not trade him at his highest value, especially considering I think they're going to be way out of it this year. And Luis Ariz had a magical season last year. It was almost historic. but he's a batting average guy. He's not a guy who's gonna, give you has a lot of pop in his bat. He's not gonna drive in a lot of runs, and in today's baseball, that's what people value. And I think a team like the Marlins, who are not going to be competing for quite some time, again, why waste his talent there? Why not sell on him high and hopefully bring in some prospects you can build around? So I have a Luis Ariz in my fantasy made-up world being traded to the St. Louis Cardinals for Dylan Carlson and Gordon Graceffo, who's one of their prospects. Carlson needs, I think, a chance to play every single day. Miami could be that place. They get a prospect back as well. And Luis Ariz, I think, could be like the missing piece on that Cardinals team. Because what the Cardinals have a lot of is uncertainty. They don't know,
He's a perfect Cardinal player.
They don't know what they're getting out of Nolan Gorman. They don't really know what they're getting out of Jordan Walker. They don't really know what they're getting out of Dylan Carlson. And you got Mason Wynn coming up as well. Everyone talks very highly of them, but the way these Cardinal prospects have been panning out, there's a lot of uncertainty. Arenado opted in. You got Goldschmidt on the big contract as well. This is a team that needs to win now.
Yep,
it is a small window. And you add a catalyst at the top of your lineup, like a Luis Ariz, with Goldschmidt and Arenado hitting in back of them. Wow. That is a very compelling lineup right there. And that could be a lineup that gets the Cardinals into the playoffs.
Who does he... Now, this might be like sacrilegious. But again, with watching the way that he is such a thorn in the Mets side, and he's a thorn in everybody's side, who does he remind you of when he's... He
reminds me of Tony Gwynn.
Thank you. That's exactly... I didn't know if that was like sacrilegious.
Oh, no. Well, but listen, he's not... I mean, he doesn't have the accolades or the accomplishments of Tony Gwynn, but in style of play. Now, to me, there's two versions of Tony Gwynn. There was a Tony Gwynn who was a great average hitter, and also a very good base stealer as well in the 80s. Like, Tony Gwynn was a fantasy stud in the 1980s. I mean, granted, he hurt you in the power department, but whatever. He gave you so much more in the other departments. And as he got bigger, as his career went on and the speed went away, he was still one of the best pure hitters in the game. He was impossible to pitch to. And for these last 2 years, Ariz has had a similar impact for the Marlins and in the batter's box, where pitchers don't know how to pitch to him. You can't pitch to him because he will go the other way. He will go down the line. He does have gap-to-gap power. It may not go over the fence a lot, but the guy can at least place it where he needs to place it. Yeah, I think Tony Gwynn is a absolutely fine comparison. I mean, again, he's not Tony Gwynn, but style of play, absolutely. And I think that's something the Cardinals could definitely use.
So when I saw you put him up, I was thinking the whole time about Tony Gwynn. So I went down a little Tony Gwynn rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
The stats on Tony Gwynn, again, like Ariz is not, but it just reminded me so much of him. So two things that I wrote down. So over the course of Gwynn's career, he faced 18 Hall of Fame pitchers, okay?
Yeah.
541 plate appearances against those 18 Hall of Fame pitchers. He hit with a slash line of 331, 371, 426 against the upper echelon.
Yeah.
Your Greg Maddux, your Randy Johnson, your Pedro Martinez. Like, again, otherworldly. Other thing that I saw that just like blew my mind. You can go like a whole thing of Tony Gwynn stats to just blow your mind.
Oh, yeah.
20-year career. Guess how many times he struck out in 20 years?
Oh, I've seen this before. Oh my God. In 20 years, it's like what? 300-400 times or something like that?
434 times. So going back to last season, you had 129 players strike out 22 times by the end of April. He averaged 22 Ks per year.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a different game, and like you said, the power wasn't there, and it's not like the uppercut and all of that. Just those stats.
But like to your credit, he was facing some of the greatest strikeout pitchers in baseball history.
In the steroid era.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. I like it. All right, let's dig the third. Let's make this one. We're gonna go a bit quicker with this one here. Let's just give our predictions, and then just reactions after that. Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna go. This is our award season. Who are you giving awards to? All right. So AL MVP, NL MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Years. Who are you thinking? Just give us your list here.
Okay. So we want to go with we'll go NL MVP. We'll go NL then AL.
Sure.
Okay. So for the NL, again, this is not anything that's outlandish. The value he's at currently plus 1,200 for MVP. Bryce Harper. I don't see if the
I have the
Phillies are
same.
good how
I have
they
the
are
same
not.
thing.
Yep, I don't see how they're not. I don't see how he's not. I feel like this is the prime of his career. Talking about the extension, ending his career with the Phillies, even though he's still got so many years left. I just, again, it's everything that I want in the Mets, and I feel like he's just going to go into another
You
stratosphere.
you should get a full, healthy 150 or 140 plus games from Bryce Harper. And if he's healthy in that lineup, I mean, this could be his career year there. I
Playing
really
first
do.
base and not being there in
And
the
he's at
outfield.
first base. I would not be shocked at the end of the year we saw 280 and 50 homers
Yep,
from
I
Bryce
agree.
Harper this year.
I agree.
I
I
would
agree.
not in that lineup because I think Trey Turner is going to have a huge bounce back year this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be such an impossible lineup to pitch to. I think Harper can go nuts. I too also have him as my NL MVP.
All right, so you can't see what I put, so I hid mine.
Yeah,
So I want
I
you
like it.
have I have your AL MVP. Give me your AL MVP.
My AL MVP this year is going to be Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners. So at the beginning of the offseason, I really did not understand what the Mariners were doing. It seemed they were just being cheap. They didn't want to spend a lot of money. They weren't interested in contending. But then you look at the additions they made, and you also
Oh,
look
I
at
lost you, Kev.
the subtractions you made.
Hold on one
I
second,
think,
Kev. Hold on, I
yep.
lost you for a second. You freeze. Okay, sorry. Go back. You said you didn't know
Oh,
what
it's
the
okay.
Mariners were doing.
Yeah, I didn't know what the Mariners were doing. It seemed like they were being cheap. It seemed like, again, they were just trying to count pennies. But then you take a closer look at the overall roster and what they have there.
Their pitching.
And the number one, the pitching's great. The pitching just leaps off of the page. I think by the end of the year, they're going to have the best rotation in baseball. We're going to look at it and go, that's the best rotation in baseball. I think George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, that's going to be impossible to face. So I like their starting pitching a lot. I like the additions they made in their bullpen as well. I like Gregory Santos. I like Jackson Kowar. I like who these guys can be back there. In the lineup actually got better.
Mm-hmm.
It may not jump off of the page, but they really cut down on the strikeouts last year that truly plagued this team all year long. Adding guys like Jorge Polanco, bringing back Mitch Haniger, adding Mitch Garver to the lineup, even though he is a guy who strikes out a lot, but he's also a great source of power as well, who I think just easily slides into what they wanted out of Teoscar Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall this is a harder lineup to pitch to. And I think Julio, who struggled a little bit in the first half of this season, figured things out again in the second half. I think he's on like a Ronald Acuna like path here where he just explodes this year. He's going to have a Griffey, A-Rod, Seattle type year there. Oh, yeah. I think he can easily hit 290 plus and flirt with 40 homers and 40 steals. Yeah. Yep. I think he has more of the ability in him than any other player in baseball, especially in the American League, I think. And I think he is a guy who is just going to take off to that next level.
I love it. I love it. So when I was thinking for mine, again, I try to hold spring training for a grain of salt and be like,
sure.
Okay, this is not what the regular season is going to be like. I wanted to go Soto because I feel like, but that's too obvious. I didn't end up going with him, but just him in that ballpark, in that lineup, I feel like he's just going to be like out of this world. But I'm like, I can't do Soto. That's too chalk. So when I was going through the odds, I picked somebody who has plus 250 to be the AL MVP. Okay. And again, I'm a little skewed. I tend to like people who also have very long hair, who come from a very good lineage, who is a team that is shooting for postseason aspirations, who
Long
plays in a
hair.
prime defensive position. He is does not play in the United States of America. I'm going
What
with
what league does he play in?
I am going with Bo Bichette. Does not.
Oh.
So
Oh, okay.
there's just something I feel like with that team this year. Everything that you feel about the Mariners, I feel like this is a make or break season with the Blue Jays. And I know Bo Bichette struggles defensively, so I feel like that could be his one. That could be his kryptonite. The guy hustles. The guy's going to
Does.
hit 30 plus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just infatuated with him. To me, he's like what Jonathan India like should have been.
Mm.
Just I'm absolutely infatuated with him, and I'm like at that value plus 250 or 2,500. Like I had to take it, so I went with Bo Bichette.
The thing that just worries me so much about, and I love Bo Bichette. I think he's a great player, and I think Toronto needs to sign him soon to this
Yes,
extension because
yeah,
he goes to free market, he's gone.
yeah.
What worries me about the Blue Jays is the age they added to the lineup. I like Justin Turner, but you're already going in that older direction as is. George Springer's another year older. You know,
I still love him though. I
you
still
talk about the
love him.
limitations of Kevin Kiermaier in center field. He's a great defensive center fielder, but he can't hit. Then you bring in IKF, and he's slated to be your starting third baseman.
Yeah.
And it's like he had a hard time finding the field at all I feel like at times last year.
But my thing with him, and I was thinking of that too, I'm like, Bo defensively, he's kind of like Jeter-esque where the range is not there.
Oh
So
yeah.
like, if you put in somebody like IVF at third, you don't have to make that. You don't have to go into the hole. It can ease up
But
your defensive responsibilities.
so my question to you would be: can Bo Bichette win the? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Can Bo Bichette win the MVP and the Blue Jays not make the playoffs?
No, I don't think it's possible. I think the Blue Jays will make the playoffs.
Oh, you do think? Yeah. See, yeah. I have them out.
I think four teams could make it. Like in an ideal world, I could see four teams
Mm-hmm.
coming out of the East. I feel like the East is going to be the East is the premier division.
Yeah.
You come in again. Everybody's so high in Baltimore. We can talk about this more when we get into like our divisional winners.
Yep.
I think he's prime. I think it's good value.
Okay.
I think Soto is the safe pick. I think
Mhm.
Julio is the sexy pick, and I want something a little bit different. I can get good value on.
Okay.
2,500. I'm in.
All right. Sounds good to me. So Cy Young.
Yes.
I'm gonna go AL Cy Young, and the reason why I'm going AL Cy Young is because we just got news today that my AL 2024 AL Cy Young winner just had an MRI done.
You never
and you have to wonder. You have to wonder. Does this mean Tommy John? I have Garrett Cole winning the Cy Young once again, going back to back in the American League. I mean, I don't have to go on too much about the accolades of Garrett Cole, but I mean, he solidified himself again as not one of, but probably the best pitcher in baseball. And I don't see that changing unless this MRI reveals something really bad, and then I'm gonna have to pivot and possibly go somewhere else because it is hard to win in a Cy Young award with Tommy John surgery.
Yeah,
that's hard to do.
Very difficult.
Very hard to do. So we'll see what this MRI says. But I have Garrett Cole. Who do you have in the American League?
Before I go on to mine, the whole idea of them saying it's very difficult for him to bounce back between starts. Like, I don't like the guy. I despise the Yankees. That is not good.
That's not a good sign.
You have a hard time, like the dead arm, that scares me. And I'm like, that's what happens when you're throwing 98 all those innings. I mean, you're like Texas strong, but
best case scenario, if his arm's tired or fatigued, it's kind of like what Kodai Singh is going through.
Yeah.
So you're gonna shut him down for a month. Then he's going to have to rev it back up. So there's another 2-3 weeks. And if he feels no pain, sure, he's back. But now you're talking about mid-May. If he does feel pain, there's another month. So now we're talking about it's mid-June. So if I'm a Yankee fan, I'm bummed right now. But if I'm Blake Snell, I'm like, hey, hi, I'm here. Do you need a Cy Young winner? I'm right here. Do you want to sign me now?
Yep, completely agree.
Yep.
All right, so for mine, again, I I don't know what it is. I'm always somebody that if I come across something on TikTok or on Instagram or Twitter, I immediately go down a little bit of a rabbit hole and then I just
Mhm.
become infatuated with you. So when I was trying to come up with my AL MVP, scrolling through TikTok, and you've got to follow him, Pitching Ninja, Rob
Oh,
Friedman.
love pitching ninja.
So
Absolutely.
so he recently had Logan Gilbert on. When you were talking about the Mariners, you just made my heart skip a beat a little bit. Logan Gilbert is my choice for AL MVP. Watching him with Pitching Ninja, the development of his new split finger. Now again, like seeing his hands, he's got like Kawhi Leonard esque hands. They're just absolutely gigantic. And when you put the ball, it just completely engrosses the entire ball. He threw his splitter. He kind of said it was like the ghost fork that Senga throws, but he's got so much. He's got such bigger hands than Senga. So when he splits it, he actually like holds the ball a little bit with like his with this finger. So
Yep.
he gets a little bit extra drag on it. So it's still like the same arm angles, like same speed, same release point, everything. But the spin that comes off because of that little bit of extra drag, he's like it's like that disappearing effect where it's almost like a circle change, but
Yeah.
coming at you harder. And
Yep.
watching some of the pitches that they were showing through Pitching Ninja through spring training, I don't know how you hit that for somebody who's sitting mid 90s and all of a sudden he drops that on you. And again, like even in slow motion, I'm looking at the arm and they do the overlay. It's like, okay, here's the fastball release, here's the
Hmm.
split finger release. I'm like, how are you possibly hitting that? So again, I tried not to go somebody who was like a clear cut favorite. And again, I'm just stuck in the moment because I watch it. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god, how do you possibly do that? But Logan Gilbert is
Yeah.
my choice for AL
I like it.
Showdown.
I do. I like him a lot, and I think you're right. I don't think we've seen the best of Logan Gilbert yet.
And I watched him
Uh
pitch last year against the Mets, and
oh,
I'm like, this guy is just like. There's some guys
he's
you're
not
like,
fair.
he's got it.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
not. It's not fair.
Yeah. He's not fair.
Yeah.
National League Cy Young winner. I'm going with the mustache. I'm going with Spencer Strider. I think it's.
Hate him. Hate him.
Yeah, I mean, you have to as a Mets fan. You absolutely have to.
I hate the way he holds his feet on the rubber.
You hate his whole look. I get it. And the thing you hate the
thighs.
most is he's incredibly hard to hit.
And
When
he's
you
got
face
gigantic
him,
thighs.
it's a long day. And now Strider last year did struggle with the home run ball. And everything I've read about Strider is again, this guy, he studies the game. He's a guy who is always at work at his craft. I think if he cuts back on the home runs he gives up, he is bar none the best pitcher in the National League now. The Kershaw years I think are obviously now way behind us. I mean, the Dodgers have another future ace that is again coming to fruition here. Corbin Burns obviously jumping over to the American League now as well. I think this is Strider's title to lose. And with how good the Braves are going to be, he's going to be the ace of that staff. It's Spencer Strider time. You love it, like it, live with it. It's Spencer Strider time in the National League.
And I wouldn't go against you at all. I just can't stand everything from his bravado to his everything. He just irks me. And again, it's the Mets fandom that's showing through. But and if he wins it, good. I hope they go deep in the playoffs and get eliminated again. So you put more innings on his arm, and then he's not as effective when the Mets come back. I am staying in the same division.
Okay.
I'm going with. I was going to call them a Florida Marlins. Miami Marlins.
Marlins?
Jesus.
You going Yuri?
Luzardo.
Wow. Okay.
So again, prisoner of the moment. Watching him when he was full throttle, from being the lefty, and again, I know the Marlins don't get the shine that Strider will get. So he's at plus 3,000 for NL MVP, and just from pure stuff. Now again, watching him.
He's emerged. He's emerged as a guy. Yes.
Stud. His stuff is stud like. He reminds me of Garrett Cole from the left hand side.
Yeah.
It's just shoving. Everything is hard. Everything is moving.
See,
it would not surprise me.
When I watch him, I see again like good Carlos Rodon, like where Rodon should be.
But
like that's what it looks like.
Arm action is much more fluid, and I'm just looking at him like that's an easy 97. And again, it's just like. I watch Pitching Ninja and I see the stuff and I see the two-seamer, I see the slider, I see these pitches. I'm like, they're going to be a team that's going to be in a 2-1 game every single game.
Yep.
Why not? Why not? Again, it's good value. So if maybe I'll parlay.
You should. Oh my god.
Oh my god, the odds on that.
You could buy a house.
I'll be able to buy some more sneakers and hats. Okay, for NL Rookie of the Year, who do you have?
And NL Rookie of the Year, going the guy I think is going to be right on Strider's tail for the Cy Young, and that is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto.
Yoshi.
Of the Dodgers. Yeah, I mean, I guess looking at the film and if I call it film like I'm in the 1950s, looking at the tapes like I'm in the 1990s, looking at the internet because it's 2024, everything you're seeing from Yamamoto just looks incredible. He knows how to pitch. He knows how to work the strike zone. The other day, my brother texted me. He's like, "You see Yamamoto get up 3 runs and like the first thing is the White Sox." Yeah. And I'm like, "Really?" And I went on because I got MLB package. I went on. I watched the game, and 6 of the hits were infield hits.
Dinks.
And I'm like, "You can't barrel up his stuff. Like that's going to be the only way you score runs off of this guy." And I go, this is an anomaly. He is going to dominate, especially the first half of the year as hitters are going to have to try and figure him out. I think his first half is going to be like, I mean, not to compare him just because they're both Japanese, but it's like when Nomo came over and no one knew how to adjust to him.
But
I think it's going to be
deception.
Yes, or another one, Fernando Valenzuela when he came in the Dodgers his rookie year in '81, like. Hitters didn't know how to adjust to it. I think he's going to have such a dominant first half that he's going to be in that Cy Young conversation. I'm assuming because that's just how baseball works. People make adjustments. Second half will probably tail off a little bit. We always hear this about Japanese pitchers, the first year especially. They're not used to throwing as much. The grueling nature of the MLB season, the traveling across the country. I think eventually that does play a factor, especially in first-year Japanese pitchers. And I think there'll be a little regression, but nowhere near enough not to assume that this guy is going to be an ace of the staff.
So after seeing him giving up all those hits, I was like, wait, what's going on here? And then I saw it was like the weak contact. Watching his pitches from behind home plate, the movement on his curve, it's like absolutely filthy. The only thing, we talked about this last pod, that kind of concerns me, the difference of the ball. And I don't know how gung-ho the Dodgers are going to be, knowing their track record. Are you going to push him into the 30-start stratosphere, knowing you're going to need him in the postseason?
They have to. They have to.
Really? You think they're going to push him?
Because they don't have anybody else. They don't have anybody else. Matt, no, I actually don't. I do not think it is a slam dunk that the Dodgers have the entire NL West wrapped up. Again, you go and you look at the teams in the NL West and say what you want about the Padres and the fact that they don't have Soto anymore, but now they got more depth in pitching. They still have one of the better lineups in Major League Baseball. I would do one with the Padres a little bit. It's a little Ewing theory, as Simmons talks about, again, on his podcast. Maybe with the absence of Soto, something happens on that team. We've seen that happen before. When you use star players, other guys step up. I think it's a more complete team because of the added pitching the Padres now have. I think Michael King can be a solid 2 or 3 in any starting rotation in the league. Pair that up with Musgrove, and I know you Darvish is timeless. It seems no matter how old he gets, the guy's always productive. Now it's just the Padres side of things. The Giants added some real bats to this lineup. Jung-Ho Lee, people are really giddy about. They love what he's done in Korea, and they think a lot of that can translate to the major leagues. Jorge Soler, they just got Matt Chapman on the cheap. The Giants lineup is significantly better than it was last year as well. Kyle Harrison, another name you have to get to know. He could be in the Rookie of the Year conversation as well. He has a power left-handed arm. He's going to be in that starting rotation. He is also very good. And last but not least, the team that went to the World Series last year with one of the youngest teams in baseball, the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that lineup only got better. And they added Eduardo Rodriguez for depth in the rotation. The Dodgers are winning the West. I'm not saying they're not. I don't think it's a slam dunk that they're going to be July and August. They're going to have their feet up. They're going to have to pitch Yamamoto. a lot because you don't know what you're getting from Kershaw when he comes back.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're getting from Walker Buehler. Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, those guys are constantly on the shelf. And then you're going to, can you name me the third starter in LA? He's a very good pitcher, but he's super young.
No, I can't.
It's Bobby Miller, who's another prospect. Yeah. But you look at these Dodger prospects have come up, the pitching ones, and they get on the shelf. Now, I'm not trying to say they're cursed or something, but it happens. And you have Tyler Glasnow as your 2, who's only had 2 full seasons in the major leagues without getting hurt.
But he did.
Yamamoto, I think, has to be that guy for him. Has to be. I think they're gonna pitch him as much as possible. And if they don't, I don't care. Listen, Ohtani had a lot of talent around him with the Angels. You can't argue he didn't. He had Mike Trout. And when they signed Anthony Rendon, listen, I know Rendon has crashed and burned, okay? But there's still talent there. And that team, you couldn't make the playoffs. Ohtani just as a DH. And with the questions that, to me, the Dodgers still have in the rotation, it's not a slam dunk that they just run away with the division and they're up 10, 15 games by the All-Star break. I mean, they would have to be playing out of this world, and the Diamondbacks, Padres, and Giants would have to go the other way that I've been talking about them with.
You know what makes me incredibly worried about, well, not worried, but it's just like I want to watch this. Have you seen what's been going on with Gavin Lux? He's got like the Chuck Knobloch yips where they're moving him now. Like Mookie is now your starting shortstop. Like to me, it's just like, okay, there's only so many, like you can't plug so many holes as like the pool is leaking. Like it's just getting.
I totally agree, and this is a conversation for another day. But Mookie Betts to me is one of the greatest stories of the 21st century baseball.
Oh my God, yeah.
How many corner outfielders can you think of in baseball history? When they enter their 30s, you're going to say to them, hey, by the way, now you're playing shortstop.
And still be an MVP guy.
He's a unicorn. It's an unreal talent that we still do not appreciate in the game. And he's another player baseball has to continue to promote, and a lot.
And what did the Red Sox do?
Oh, my God. Again, stories for another day.
Yep.
Your NL Rookie of the Year.
Okay, so with my NL Rookie of the Year, so this is based on the fact that I watched him last year in the College World Series for LSU, and I went with...
Oh, hang on, Matt, you froze.
Am I back now?
Matt, are you there?
Am I here?
Yeah, sorry, you froze a little bit there.
Okay, so what my choice is Dylan Cruz of the Washington Nationals.
Wow.
So I know first year minor leagues, his stats, I was looking at his stats, are not anything to write home about. But again, when I was looking into it, it's like, okay, he made a deep run College World Series. You then, no time off, immediately get pushed into the major league, minor league system, and you're going to find your struggles. I think the Nationals are pretty much going to be like, we're going to play the kids this year. This is a positive year. Shoot. We're just going to see growth. I can see him getting all the at-bats for the out. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry, he just froze up a little bit again.
Yeah, you're all discombobulated on my end. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I'll keep it quick. I'm just going Dylan Cruz. I just think it was his issues were due to like just being tired from going from college to the professional league.
Yeah, and the talent's there.
I think I love the look. I love everything about him. So I'm going to go with Dylan Cruz. For my American League now, for American League Rookie of the Year, this is based solely on betting information, so I cannot back this up other than the fact that I'm going with Wyatt Langford, and here's my justification for it. So Wyatt Langford, outfield, Texas Rangers.
Yep.
So when I was looking at, I based everything based on betting odds. So when I was looking, there was an extreme odd shift in him for AL MVP. So at the beginning of February, he was about plus 700 for AL Rookie of the Year. By the time I was doing my research, and maybe like Thursday or Friday of last week, it dropped down to 450. Plus,
yeah, because he's gonna make the team.
So
he's gonna start.
We've got a major drop in odds there, and I'm like, okay, plus 450 is not anything outlandish at all. And he's hitting like 350 this spring. It's like a 350, 450.
He mashes.
Like 8, oh my God. And I'm like looking at the swing. I'm like, okay, there we go. Now, again, knew nothing about him before I was starting to do things. And then it's like, yep, that's a swing that I can get behind. And I think the Rangers are in that lineup. they're gonna mash in that
Oh yeah,
ballpark.
because
They're
they
gonna
got, and
mash.
that's what I like for rookie hitters like this. Like,
Yeah.
make sure he has protection. Make sure
Yep.
he's getting fastballs. And
Yep.
right, you're pitching Langford fastballs.
Yep.
Oh, it's going to go a long, long way. I
Yep.
think he's got a bright future ahead of him. My debate was between him and the guy I ended up picking for the AL Rookie of the Year, and I think it's the next great talent in the game, and that is Jackson Holliday of the Baltimore Orioles. I think about another guy who is crushing spring training. He's in a great line. Everything I just said about Wyatt Langford, I can say for Jackson Holliday, but I think Holliday gets it because he plays a more premier position at shortstop.
Yeah.
Now, they might have him start at second, but I think he will eventually end up at shortstop. But even if he doesn't, it's a middle infield position, and I think that's going to be more enough to give him the nod for Rookie of the Year.
Did you see his brother Ethan? Did you see his swing?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
No, I
Like,
haven't seen it.
Go after this. Look up Ethan Holiday. It's the exact same swing as Jackson Holiday. I'm like, do they just grow holidays on trees? Like, is this what's going to be the next iteration? He's got to be like the next up and coming.
That's like the Guerreros as well.
Yeah.
They all had that same violent swing too.
Yep.
Same thing.
And the thing about Jackson too, when you watch, okay, when he got drafted, he's a little boy. He's put on some serious muscle now. Like he's like putting on man strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, that's the Orioles are a lucky franchise. Right,
yeah, let's do it. I'm just loading up Ethan's swing. Yeah, his swing. Yeah, it's the same.
It's
the same
it's
swing.
the exact same swing.
The same exact swing. Yeah,
that's what
awesome.
happens when you have a major league father and you've got all those resources and you can fine tune your swing.
I also had my dad's swing as well. And that's why I'm doing podcasts now.
I did not have my dad's swing, which is why I did not be able to play in college. My dad was a very good hitter, and I couldn't hit to save my life. Okay, so we'll go through it quickly. Some of these we do have similarities. Other ones we do have differences. So for part 4, so for coming home, we're heading for home. Little last segment. We can go through this relatively quick. So
Postseason.
For AL East, we both have the same team for the AL East.
Yankees.
We both have the Yankees. Now, again, this was all done before the Garrett Cole information.
100%. If Garrett Cole has Tommy John, it's completely different.
Yep, I agree. But like you said, I can see them going after Snell. I can see them going after Montgomery. Even like a Bieber, like I can see them. The Yankees aren't going to sit by, especially after the whole Yamamoto not getting him. And that fan base is already starting to get
They're not, but no matter who they get, to me, it's a significant step down. Yeah. From Cole. And that even includes the reigning Cy Young winner in Blake Snell. I think Cole is just a significantly better pitcher than he is. So yeah, but for right now, until we know anything else, it's the Yankees.
Yep.
AL Central?
For AL Central, I know where you're going to go because you're going to buy their hat and you've got a little special place in your heart for them. Who are you going with?
I'm going with the Royals. And again, I don't love the Royals. I just love this group right now. And I love the division they play in terms of them being able to win the division. I don't like it. I think that maybe that's it. It's not that I love the Royals. I don't like anyone else in the Central because to me, no one else is really trying that hard to win. I think the Royals are. I will say I love that fan base. I love the environment in Kansas City. I would love to see them be winners again this year. So, yeah, go Royals.
I still can't get over 2015 and Duda not being able to throw the ball home.
No, yeah.
I will forever. Eric Hosmer and
Matt Harvey.
I won't swear.
Familia. Yeah. Moving on.
So I did not go with the Royals. I went with the Minnesota Twins just simply because of Pablo Lopez. I think he's going to be a top 3 Cy Young Award candidate. I feel like they have enough offense. I feel like that division, like you said, is very weak. I do think the Royals are going to be much improved, but again, I would if you had a gun to my head, you need to pick a winner. I'm going to go with the team that got there before, the team that's got the number 1 ace. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins.
Okay. AL West, what did you think?
We both went in the same direction with
good.
AL West.
So Seattle Mariners.
I just think that pitching is way too good. Pitching wins.
Yeah, and I think the Astros pitching, because I know Verlander's going to need some time to get started and get revved up with his arm troubles. I think the Astros starting pitching kind of catches up to them a little bit. I like Framber Valdez. I like Christian Javier. People are saying Hunter Brown could be the next big thing. They said he looks a lot better than he did last year. But I want to see it first. I look at that Mariners rotation, and I know what they can do. And again, if I'm expecting an MVP season from Julio, it's the Mariners.
And I kind of hope that the Astros regress a little bit because if Verlander doesn't hit an inning criteria, the Mets don't owe him as much money. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like, yep, Justin, take your time back. Take your time. Come
Yeah.
back in July.
Yep.
But no, so we both went with the Mariners. All right, so for your AL wild cards, who do you have?
Orioles, Astros, Rangers.
Okay, so I have 2 out of the 3. So
Okay.
I have the Orioles as well. I just think that lineup is too deep. I think they're the sexy pick. They're like
Yep.
the sexy pick in the AL. I also went with the Rangers. I feel like the World Series hangover. I do feel like it does hurt your pitching. Like Nathan Eovaldi, I
Does.
don't think is going to be like you put those extra innings on it, it shows up. But I think that lineup, you have 2 legitimate AL MVP candidates in that lineup. Like who knows if DeGrom is going to come back? I just feel like they're too deep to fall off. And I think Bochy is one of the like best managers
Yeah.
of all time. So I,
Yep.
I couldn't count out the Rangers. My other team, and this goes back to my AL MVP candidate. I'm putting my eggs
The
in
Blue
this
Jays?
basket. I'm going with the Blue Jays as well.
Yeah.
So my wildcard teams are the Orioles, Blue Jays, and Rangers.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, so we'll skip over to the NL East.
Yeah, we're handed to the Braves, right?
Nope, I'm not.
Oh, so you're the Phillies. The Phillies win the division.
I think the Braves had the perfect season last year where everybody in that lineup was mashing. Everybody
And
was
healthy.
all-star.
And healthy.
I mean,
Yeah.
Acuna, we know we've got the injury history. Matt Olson, like again, is he going to be able to hit 55? Like I just feel like they were so impeccable last year. They've got to regress. There's no way they can keep that up. And again, this is personally, I'm kind of hoping they regress. So I went with the Phillies with the NL East.
Okay. NL Central, I'm going with the Cardinals. I can't get on board with the Cubs yet.
Oh, but still, there's another.
I know. I mean, again, they make a trade for a frontline starter. I'm more giddy about them. I will gladly hand it over to them. I think so much went wrong for the Cardinals. And this is an organization where there's not been a lot of times in their history where everything goes wrong. Everything went wrong last year. I think you get a nice bounce back year from Arenado. I think Goldschmidt still has it. These young guys have to play every day. I think at least 2 of them blossom, and I think them being Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker. It's a very complete lineup. Their starting pitching, again, is not sexy at all, but I think it could be serviceable. And that in that division, that's enough. I think that's enough.
I hate the Cardinals again. I hate the phrase the Cardinal way. I feel like, what is the Cardinal way? You have good players. Like, what is the Cardinal way? Their fans are incredible.
I would like for us to adopt that way on the record.
I can't stand them. I can't.
Yeah.
Ever since they called the Mets the pond scum, I've just forever hated the Cardinals. So I did not go with the Cardinals. I did not go with the Cubs. There was a guy that I happened to do a podcast with that sold me on this team last year.
Okay.
I'm going with the Cincinnati Reds.
All right. Yeah, I was talking all about them last week. All right.
Even with the suspension of Marte, I just feel like that team is just too...
They'll be okay.
So it was actually funny. Christina saw the suspension. She sent me a message on Instagram. Again. Am I back?
Hey, Matt, you just froze again, buddy. Sorry.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're coming back. You're coming back to me. There you go.
Hey,
Celine Dion, come back to me. Yeah.
Oh, God, she makes me sad. So Christina sent me a message on Instagram about his suspension, and she's like, maybe you could talk about this on the podcast. But I'm like, nope, I'm full-blown. I'm all about the Reds this year. I feel like that lineup, like they're just going to mash. Again, they're going to mash. They're a young, exciting team. They, to me, are like the Baltimore Orioles of the NL.
Yeah.
And I just want to see. And with Joey Votto moving on, and I'm like, okay, they realize we need to cut the ties. We're not going to even give him a minor league invite. I just feel like it's a Reds time to shine.
Pitching. It's just the pitching. If Hunter Green can finally become the pitcher we all think he can be, I mean, that team, the sky could be the limit. I really do believe in that team too. Yeah. But I gotta see it. I do. I just gotta. I mean, my heart is saying Cincinnati, but this is when the Cardinals come in and they just do the Cardinals things. It's almost as if they have a way, like a Cardinal way. And I think that's just where we're going to see it again. We're going to be reminded of that this year.
When the Reds win the division, you have to eat some Skyline chili. We'll make Skyline chili.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, yes. I would love that.
Okay,
love that.
For your NL West.
West is Dodgers. Again, I said this before. I'll have to go deep into it again. I think it's the Dodgers. I think it's a closer race than the experts think. I think it's going to be a close. Again, they're not running away with this. They're gonna need to win a lot of games in order to win this division, and they're gonna have a lot of competition in that division.
We might have to make a bet because I feel like it's going to be double digits. We might have to make a bet there between us.
Double digits, they win the division.
Double digits, they win the division. Well, we can simmer on that, but I have the Dodgers obviously as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I would do 12.
Yeah.
12 games. 13. 13, I felt more comfortable. 13.
So no, it's gonna be close. No, we'll go 13.
They'll break away in September, but I would say I'll do 12. I'll do 12. 12 games.
We'll talk about it. All right. For the wild card, my number one wild card will be the Atlanta Braves because I feel like
the Phillies
still too deep. Yep. Mm-hmm. So we're interchangeable. There was like a thing I saw on DraftKings where it's either like the Braves and the Phillies or the Phillies and the Braves to be 1-2 or 2-1 in the division. Like it's like negative odds. So I mean, it's like it's dead set. For my second wild card team, I'm going with who you seem to be talking about a decent amount. Not the Cardinals, but the Cubs. So I'm going to go for my second team. I will go with the Cubs.
I went with the Cincinnati Reds. Good so I do have a little belief in there. But I'm seeing them being a wild card team.
And here's my wild, because I feel like every year there's one NL team that makes the postseason. You're like, where did they come from? For last year, it was the Diamondbacks. Now, I'm not saying this team is going to make the World Series, nor do I say that they'll make the NLCS. I am jumping aboard the Pirates train. I feel like the Pirates will make
3 teams from the NL Central.
I have faith because I feel like you always think about like these division. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. We were supposed to go there last year. I'm going to go with the Pirates as my third wild card.
All right. I'm going with those Diamondbacks. I'm going with the guys on my head here. I think this team's even stronger than they were last year. Again, they have an MVP caliber player in Corbin Carroll. They got more young guys on the way. Hopefully we see Jordan Lawler. Maybe we see Drew Jones. And they have the veterans there as well. I love that DH combo of Jock Peterson and not Hunter Renfroe. Oh my God! Now, of course, this is when I blank. Give it to me. Let's see here. Jock Peterson and thank you. Oh my God, where is he? Oh, Randall Grichuk. Thank you. Oh. One guy who mashed righties, one guy who mashes lefties. I love that combination for them in the middle of that lineup to go along with Eugenio Suarez, who could very easily hit 40 home runs in that bandbox of a park. This is a team that adds serious power, which is something they desperately needed last year as well. Even in the World Series, they need that extra bat in the lineup. I mean, Lourdes Gurriel, who was taking I think 5th for them in the World Series, and their projected lineup's now hitting 7th or 8th. This team got deeper. And I think this team is, again, they're now battle-tested. I am not betting against those arms after what I saw out of Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, and Brandon Pfaadt. I'm giddy about the Diamondbacks in 2024. And I expect them to battle the Dodgers until the very end. The Dodgers will take it. The Diamondbacks are not going to go quietly.
I worry again about the innings, the added innings last year, the stress.
Yep, which is fair.
Kelly at a point last year was like, you might go down. I mean, there was no guarantee he's going to be part of the rotation. So I'm like, is he going to continue on this upward trend? That he showed the moxie when he talked about the Phillies fans, about it not being as loud as during the World Baseball Classic.
Yep.
I would like to say I think they're a fun team because they go at it a different way. Again, I just always worry about those extra innings, those high leverage situations you put on your arms. Arms get tired. It's hard to do it in back-to-back years. Yeah. All right, to wrap it up. So who do you have in your we'll stay in the NL. Who do you have in your NLCS?
NLCS, I have the Phillies beating the Dodgers. Because what I've been saying about the Phillies, I think they are going to be that team with the chip on their shoulder. I think they realize, and they have the guys to do it. The window's closing a little bit, and you get a full season of Bryce Harper. I think you get the redemption tour of Trey Turner. That's more than enough for them to go back to the World Series.
I agree. spoiler alert, I like the Phillies a lot this year. So for my
Mm.
NLCS, I am going with an all red NLCS. I'm going with the
Wow.
Philadelphia Phillies against the Cincinnati Reds.
Wow.
Inject that. Give me these small market teams getting into
Love
this
it. Oh my
this one
God, I would love that.
championship.
That what an entertaining NLCS that would be. I would love
Yep.
that. Ellie De La Cruz
Oh,
on the big stage like that.
Christmases.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yes, yes.
Stay
Sign me
healthy.
up for all of that.
Stay healthy. Okay, who do you have in the AL?
AL, this is the one I would be the most excited for because it has like mid '90s vibes to it. Give me the Baltimore Orioles over the Seattle Mariners in the ALCS. Two teams with some of the best young talent in baseball squaring off. I think it would be great for baseball if this series happened the way I think it could happen. Not to mention Grayson Rodriguez, who was one of the best young power arms in the game. I would I would be super giddy for this ALCS, and I have the Orioles being the Manners. What do you got?
I can see Jimmy Key like going against Jay Buhner. I could just picture like his old
Yeah.
Orioles uniform, just like bringing me
Yes.
back. So I have the Mariners as well
Hmm.
against the Toronto Blue Jays, and I have the
Wow.
Toronto Blue Jays beating the Seattle Mariners. So my World Series prediction
Wow.
is the Toronto Blue Jays versus the Philadelphia Phillies, and as much
Mine
as
is
it
the
pains me
Phillies
to
versus
say,
the Orioles.
I
Okay.
have the Phillies winning it all.
All right. I too also have the Phillies winning it all. I do have the Phillies winning it all as well. I think it's their year. Again, I think this is a very special group. And even though we're supposed to hate Philadelphia, and we do, we're supposed to hate the Phillies, and we do. We gotta give credit where it's due, and it's the Phillies' turn. I think it's the Phillies' year.
They're lovable dirtbags.
Yep, they are. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You know what I think we gotta stop doing? Stop declaring how long our episodes are
I
going
know,
to be.
for real. Yeah.
But you know, again, I think we had great content on here. I think we had great stuff on here. I hope you guys feel the same. Let us know what you think in the comments. Hit the subscribe button. Oh, we're doing that with the subscribe button. We have that, right?
Yep, we have that.
Oh,
Like and
love it. Then hit the
subscribe.
button
Like and
then.
subscribe.
Hit the buttons, like and
Smash
subscribe
it.
away.
Smash it.
Tell your friends to tune in. We're going to do this again in another couple of weeks. It will be the Monday before the baseball season starts. We're going to go over that series in Korea they're having between the Dodgers and the Padres. We'll have some knee-jerk reactions to that. Matt and I are also dipping our toes back into the fantasy baseball world. We'll have our draft for our league the night before, so we'll give you some updates on how that draft went and just our overall thoughts of the fantasy baseball prospect. MLB The Show, if you didn't pre-order it already, will be out. People will be playing it. Matt and I will be playing it. We're going to go over our review of MLB The Show. And, of course, if any of these other guys sign, like Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery, we'll, of course, have some comments on that as well. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's always great to talk about baseball, and it's always great to share our thoughts with you guys. So please let us know what you think, and we will see you guys next time
Go buy some
on
hats.
Hats and Bets. Go buy some hats. Go buy some hats.